Welcome to the Tarin It Up podcast. I'm your host, Tarin. We'll be tearing it up, tearing it down, and tearing it apart, dissecting all things related to those who deviate from the standard. From leaders of their industry to leaders of mediocrity, and maybe a gear review or two thrown in. We shoot the shit and let the conversations flow, so if that's not your style, this may not be for you. Otherwise, listen in. Hope to light a fire in you somehow. Hello, everybody out there. It is the last Thursday of October, and that means it's a TNA. I can't remember how this month looked, but I do remember, I think it was last month, where it was, we started with a TNA and ended with a TNA. Like, oh, I like that wrapped up in a little gift there. This month has been a little wonky with some recording issues, thus having some solo episodes, but I am so happy to be back with Amber today because
me too, dude. I miss you.
I know, and we have some catching up to do. And I gotta tell you about the Outdoor Media Summit because all of you out there listening, because I haven't told you all about it. I haven't told Amber about it. We've just been able to send some short texts. We've both been busy as heck per usual, so it's going to be an update for everybody, and there's a story in there that's unrelated to the summit, but also pretty crazy, and to wrap it all up in a little bow. But it really shouldn't take too long. But before we get into that, Amber, I want to give you the floor and, see if there's anything you want to update with first or say to anybody.
God, I don't even remember the last update, but so fucking much has been going on. It's just been a wild whirlwind. And I'm going to get a little woo-woo here with you because there's just been a lot of things going on with the planets. And I read recently, well, not recently, this was probably a month or so ago when there was some planetary things going on, that it was transitioning into it was going from a manifesting and being intentional and detailed and thinking about where you want the trajectory of your life to go, to it being full on, full-fledged. You're in it, you're doing it, you're burning the midnight oil, you're putting all your intentions to action. And I feel like that is very true as to what has been happening to both of our lives. I hope it's been happening for people's lives who are listening out there. If you're listening out there, yeah. I hope that's been happening for you. I feel like I've seen it in a few of my girlfriends' lives. I've seen it in a few other people's lives who are close to me. But yeah, just been making some fucking money moves, my dude. And which is unfortunate because it's not allotted me a whole lot of time on this beautiful, amazing, fantastic platform with you. So I feel like I've been a little MIA here, but that is just what happens. When you give your time and energy to something else in your life, other things fall a little short. But with all that said, I got a little promotion at work, and so I'm working full-time as a project coordinator, in addition to my other document control office engineer role. So I'm full-fledged in this construction world, and it feels amazing because I feel like back in 2020 when I was I'm going to go back to school and work on a career, it's taken me this long to finally be in these places with people and making the money. You know what I mean? It's there's so many things that once you make it to that point in your life where you're oh shit, this lines up. I'm here doing this. My income is reflecting that. My I was talking to my roommate the other day, and we didn't grow up insanely rich, but we didn't grow, well, I feel like I grew up pretty poor, and I feel not a lot of us when we grow up are rolling in the dough unless you're very fortunate. And we were both talking about how we are currently at this time in our lives making the most money we have ever made, but still living very frugally, and how it's just gonna take some time to unlearn those things or like catch up to the salaries that we're making with how we spend and manage our money. And but it's also a good thing because it makes you like save. And I think in the next coming weeks I plan on like doing a budget because I want to save for a trip. And like maybe we should have Tawny back on here so we
Yeah.
can get inspired with like money planning things because she's rolling in it now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not, but
Yeah.
I will
I
be.
I well, I think that's, first of all, amazing and awesome that things are happening, and like there's just so many things I want to touch on with it, where
Yes.
your comment of like, thinking in 2020, like I want to go back to school and blah, blah, blah. And like now, 4 years later, or almost 5, just kind of depending on how you look at it. Here things are finally happening. And I've mentioned this when we talk about like woo woo stuff and manifestation, where I've been resistant to it, and the fact that there was a time period, and I feel like it was 2020, when there was so many like manifestation people. Again, it's your algorithm, who knows what you're looking at, that maybe I was just seeing that shit. But it was just pissing me off and annoying because the stories were just felt so crazy, like from rags to riches kind of thing, like
Yeah.
huge things where like like where was the middle, like
Yeah, like
the
overnight success.
yeah, like something had to have happened here, that it wasn't just like bam, $1,000,000 in my pocket and yada yada yada. And then hearing like, I've been, I feel like a broken record saying this with Mallory from Ewer, who has been the one to really inspire me, because for some reason her story about finding her factory and like having this vision of exactly what she wanted the building to look like resonated so much more than any of those other things, because it still took years, and it took so much work to turn the factory into what it is to be her vision, but just finding the building was a huge thing. And like, yeah, okay, that is something I can relate to more, because it's like, oh, you look for the little things, the little clues, like found this building and I can turn this into, the dream I envisioned. So you still have to work for these things. It doesn't just all appear as you wish, right on your doorstep. And I've been trying to be very specific with my manifestations too,
Yes, that's
because
important.
yes, it is. I know I've been open to seeing things more, and I'm like, oh, I definitely asked for that, but like wasn't specific enough. And obviously
Yep.
this is super, super woo woo, and shit's gonna happen, like it's gonna rain. And yeah, that has nothing to do with my willing it per se. But I think if you're looking at things at least in a certain lens, then you can take it however you want it. And if that helps your mind and gets you more specific and keeps you positive, and that's the thing, it's been keeping me, I've been trying to be a lot more positive on things, and not just in the suck of like, oh, this like didn't happen and that sucks. Like, okay, I got that, I see that, universe, you sent this because I asked for it, but what I meant or what I want is this. And so just said that specificity. And oh, and then the other thing that I was going to mention. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, you came
Okay.
back.
Okay,
Froze
good.
for a second, but we're back, baby.
So the other thing I was going to mention was scarcity mode, which, because you and Britt in your conversations about being frugal, one, not bad at all right now,
Nope.
especially in this economy. It's like nicer probably to have that kind of control of things rather than spending lavishly. But also it's because you grew up and lived so long without being able to just not care, and not knowing for sure like when that money flow will stop, that you're like holding on to it. And so I think just making sure it's not coming deep rooted from that scarcity, that you're like starting to feel like, okay, this is going to keep happening and coming to me. I'm going to just keep getting better and growing from where I am. Um, but also being smart about your spending. There's a very big difference there of just like, oh God, hold on to it with dear life, versus like, oh no, I'm just really thinking about my purchases. Do I need to spend money over there? Am I being frivolous here? I know for sure I've been very in the scarcity mindset for a long time with a lot of things, but I have terrible money spending habits. So it's like the fact that I do live in scarcity. I'm like, I don't know when my next check is coming. It's more like, I don't know when the next one's coming, so might as well buy this while I can.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, we're both seeing some changes and making those steps towards the places we want to be and the things we've been working hard for so long. And we're not totally there, but it gives you that little glimmer of hope to keep going, because as we all know, and you all know out there, that you go through plenty of times where you're like, why the fuck am I even doing this? Like, when am I just gonna get a goddamn break? And lately I feel like I've been thinking about age a lot again, and I'm just like, dude, like, I feel like I'm 26. I had to think about how old I was. Like, I feel like I'm 26 because I feel in so many ways like in the same spots, but I know that I'm not
trying to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, and I think that's it, where it's just feels like it's been a never-ending quest to like get to this like quote unquote success like point. And again, we don't have to, age doesn't matter in that. And I love seeing stories and women or anybody too who've like changed their life later, changed their path, and it's like, it's never too late. It's never too late to do anything, and I would never change anything because of like how it got me here. But I definitely catch myself saying like, damn, I wouldn't mind if I was able to have all this experience I have, but like 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
So that, like, especially if it comes to like, as we've mentioned before too, and I don't want to go deep into this, but family, starting a family or doing this or that. It's like my mind might be on a totally different aspect of that if I was even 5 years younger. But because of where I'm at now, it's like, it's a whole different thing. And I hate that you have to fucking think about that. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We are where we are, and I can't change anything anyway, so there's no point to even dwell on it or think about it or worry about it. So I wouldn't change anything in the end. So
your story is your story.
Yeah.
Your journey is your journey. Whatever happened in between then and now is what got you exactly where you're at right now.
Exactly.
And it's your fucking story. That's what I love the most. It's like, you went from A to Z to X to Q, like it's your fucking story and nobody else's.
Yep. Absolutely. We all have to remember that.
Another thing that I'm doing right now is not drinking alcohol.
Oh, how long has that been? Has it been like sober October or just a little bit?
A week, since the 20th. Yeah, so wherever it's been 10 days.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Flying by, my friend.
Yeah, and I went to a wedding this weekend and didn't drink. I did what they call California sober, guys, and it was so fun. It was really, really fun. We dressed up as the dudes from Night at the Roxbury, so I was like this. It was really fun to be this gender bender Halloween costume. Like, it was really fun. Anyways, and then they played the song from the movie, so we got up like on the quote unquote stage, like we got like ushered to the front of the room and like did the little like head bobby dance, and then
yes,
just like I thought everyone was going to be like, oh, that was funny, and like join in and dance with us. But like I turned around and everyone was just like staring at us like, dance, monkey, dance. And so I did the dance, monkey dance, and it was weird and wild. And I really wish we would have like practiced a choreographed dance. But I did it without alcohol, and I got offered like beers and shots, and I was like, no. And I woke up not hungover, and I think that was my favorite part.
That's the best reward.
Mm-hmm.
I started drinking again like in Montana.
Naturally.
Yeah, totally. And I knew
Fuck,
that would
man.
like happen. I knew when I'd be there, like I would want to try some beer from local breweries or whatnot. But I have been keeping it very tame. Like I think 3 drinks has been like my max. And because I know that at 3 drinks, I can even feel some stuff the next day, depending on like
Yeah.
what I ate before or anything like that. And uh, but it's kept me a lot more grounded for sure. And it's also not been like a daily thing. And I'm feeling in a good place about it. And I don't think that either of us have, I think all of us out there in general can go on just not benders, but just go through times where you're all of a sudden you're like, oh man, like I'm not
I've been
feeling
drinking
great.
every day
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And it's not like you are feeling like, oh, this is an issue, but you just like, wait a second, like, why am I feeling
Um,
like so tired or just brain foggy or whatever? And you're like, oh, like I've been hitting it a little too hard, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to take a step back.
yeah.
And you can go through any of those phases all the time. And just, I love to take little breaks too, where I just feel better of like, yeah, it just doesn't sound good. So I'm just not going to do it. And that's where we've mentioned in talks with like Emily Holland and things like that, just having the options for these non-alcoholic beverages
Oh
is
my
really
God.
great. It makes it easier when you're like trying to go through a time of making better choices for yourself for whatever reason. But
Hmm.
I love beer, so I like sometimes want to taste the beer. I'm like, God, I really don't want to.
Baby, same.
Yeah, I just really don't want
Love
the
it. I
effects of the
fucking love
alcohol.
it. Yeah. And there
But
are a lot of really good NA beers out there. And unfortunately, they are the same price, but
yeah,
it just like it just a little hair of the dog, especially without the repercussions. I was looking at like non-alcoholic aperitifs and non-alcoholic wines because like I don't really drink wine, but since I'm like not drinking, I've been like, oh, I wonder if there's any non-alcoholic wines. But there's also a lot of really fun non-alcoholic drinks that have like adaptogenic mushrooms in it or like health beneficial things. And I'm like, I need to get my hands on all those. And Target has gin and tonics. So I have an event this weekend at my house that we're hosting called Super Saturday. And it's where me and my girlfriends all get together and make different soups. And we all try them together. And then,
Super
like,
Saturday.
yeah, Super Saturday. And we like bring jars so that we can like trade soups and like take some home. So this is our second annual one, and I'm really excited for it. And I'm gonna try and get some of those non-alcoholic gin and tonics from Target that I found. So to those listeners out there who don't dabble in the alcohol, Target has a good selection of non-alcoholic things. At least it said so on the internet. When you go in there, I know it's a whole nother story, but I'm about to fuck around and find out.
You should get some recipes from Hillary too for just like mocktails because
Yes, baby.
I mean mocktails are so great because you doing the same thing with like craft mocktails. You're using like homemade syrups and
Yep.
herbs and things like that. It's not just like here's some lemonade with like LaCroix,
Yeah. Or
So
like soda water with a lemon or a bunch of like
yeah,
sugary shit. Like I want to do it proper.
yeah. I bet she has some really great ones because with just her cocktail like ebooks and things that she's made. She was putting an option in there, and it's simple. It's just don't put the
Skip the
alcohol
alcohol.
in,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're still like I said making the syrup, using the herbs, and it's just a delicious, refreshing cocktaily drink. And I bet she can give you like a good seasonal like recipe too for a
Yeah,
little.
baby.
You can have a seasonal super drink for your party, and people can
Yeah.
put the alcohol in if they want it.
Ooh, that's a good idea. You're so
Yeah.
smart. I love you.
Well, I do want to give you guys the update now of Outdoor Media Summit. Run through it real quick because I think it will be pretty quick. Like, because I don't need to go into like crazy detail, but Also, I have to thank you all out there who donated to the cause to get me there, because that wouldn't have been able to happen as easily without that, for sure. It would have been a lot more of a stressful situation, and actually may not have happened because the tickets were sold out. And if I wouldn't have bought them when I did, then wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have gotten the ticket in
Wild.
time. But so I took 2 days on either side to get there, which was really nice because I decided to drive. Flying just wasn't really an option for a couple reasons, but I also really wanted to drive because I hadn't been to Montana before. So I was like, well, I just wanted to have my car and be able to kind of take any detour I wanted, check out the countryside, the view. And I'll tell you what, the way I went there, I could have gone without. The route there was very unexciting. It was through all of Nevada, all the way across Nevada, which was I've done before, going to Utah. So I was just like, yeah, it's boring as shit. But you do get to go, the highway's 80 miles an hour, so at least, and it's flat. So set that sucker on cruise control and you just fly, easy peasy. I stopped in Twin Falls in Idaho, and there was these falls. I think I talked about it before I went, but Shoshone, I'm not sure. I imagine it's Shoshone. But I had these envisioned like Snoqualmie Falls, but not really, because I was like, this is not the Northwest. And it's also October, so I don't know what the water flow will be like. There was still water flowing, so it was great, but they call it like the Niagara of the West. They were really cool, but the area, it's like you pull in and it's a little park, but the bathrooms were like closed for the season. And there was quite a bit of people there still. And so I walked up, and it was a really kind of quick visit because you just walk up, you walk to the railing, like look at the view spot, take some pics, and there's a lot of little families there. There's a big grassy area, so a lot of people out there were having like picnics and stuff. The restrooms were closed, so there was some porta potties, but there was flies everywhere, like all around the outside of the porta potties. And I get there and I gotta pee so bad. And I'm like, first things first, I can't go look at these falls without peeing. And I was just like, trying to look in each one and make sure there wasn't flies like inside. And there wasn't. They weren't like swarmed inside with the flies, but it was like getting through the door that I was worried about. So I find one that doesn't have a lot of flies around it, but then like there's no toilet paper. I'm like, damn it. Like, let me just check one more. And there was, luckily. So I'm like, go in there, and I hear the people next to me, and I hear this woman on the outside like walk up, and she's like, oh my God, oh no, I can't, like, I just can't. And like, I don't even know if she got to open the door. I can't remember if she at least opened the door and kind of looked inside, because there was some like gross ones, and I just was like laughing, but felt so bad. I mean, I like sprint peed to get the heck out of there.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know what you're gonna do, lady, because there's the grassy area was like pretty open. There wasn't a lot of places where you can go duck behind a tree or anything, but there was another little lake or something up the road that said they had restroom facilities. I don't know how far up the road. I didn't bother stopping at the lake because once I saw the falls, I was like, all right, I came, I conquered. I was hoping it was going to be a little more built up, like there would be a little lodge or bar or restaurant or something like at Snoqualmie Falls, but nope, just a looky-loo kind of place. But by that point, yeah, it'd been like 7 hours or something of driving, and I was like, I just want to get to the hotel, check in, get some food. And I was in a really kind of commercialized area of Twin Falls, so just like chain restaurants and shit. So I was like, whatever. I grabbed a quick bite and hit the road early and made it to Missoula. The drive still didn't get super exciting, even as I started getting through like parts of Idaho and Montana and stuff. But it's like, oh well, whatever. Get to the summit, and it started with a gear speed date. So it was set up a little bit like a trade show, where there's a bunch of all these brands have booths in this little conference room, and they have some product on display. So like at traditional trade shows, they're set up like that, and you just walk to each booth and you'll talk to their reps and talk, like, see their lines for the new season and stuff. But this, since it was for media, their goal was to highlight some of their new products to get the media to talk about it. So they would want to be like, oh, hey, here's like our brand new version of this chair. You know, do you want to like feature it on your podcast, do a YouTube video, write about it or something kind of thing, was that goal with the speed date. So, and as speed dating is, not that I've ever done it, but I'm sure we know what it's like, where you sit down and you have a time limit, you're talking to your date, whatever, then a buzzer or something goes off and you switch. And that's how it was supposed to be. I think it was like 10 minutes and a light and buzzer goes off and you're supposed to move to the next brand. But it was an open format. There was like 4 hours of this going on. So you could walk in at any time. And when I walked in, no one was really like giving me direction of like, oh, start here and work your way counterclockwise or clockwise or something. So I just kind of walked around to see what brands and stuff were there. And then I'd see this flashing light and hear this buzzer. I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, okay, I put it all together. But first of all, people definitely weren't just moving at the buzzer anyways. And I think it would be really hard to do. I'm sure there's already been tons and tons of feedback to OMS about this, but a different format for it. It was like, great idea, but hard to rush people and give them like, hey, here's 5 or 10 minutes to talk about this product, especially when your media outlet might focus on something specific. You might be really getting into some like deeper conversation about how this fits into whatever piece you might cover on it, or just talk about so much more. So I don't know how they could change that. Really, there's many different ways. We don't need to get into my thoughts about it here, but I really just, I didn't talk to many of their reps there. I talked to one because the brand was called Tarin, and it was Terren. I was like, I have to, like, I went up to the guy. I was like, I'm sorry, I just have to ask, like, how it's pronounced. And he was like, Tarin. I was like, okay, that's what I thought. And he was like, I see that's your name, because obviously I have a name tag on. And, you know, he's like, pronounced the same. I'm like, yeah. And it was, I think it was Romanian or something for terrain. And anyway, right now it's just a men's like clothing line, but they are hoping to bring women's on. But again, I had been driving for like another 6.5, 7 hours. So I wasn't like super all together, like, oh, ready to talk to someone and like how I can get them or the product or something on the podcast. Wasn't really ready to like sell myself or whatever. So I just poked around, and then I went and checked in at my little Airbnb that was like a mile away from the summit. And it was such a cute little studio. I'm glad that I did stay there instead of in the hotel. Like, it would have made it easier at times to just be in the hotel, but it forced me to get out and like walk. So it was nice. And it was just nice to feel like I have this whole little home to myself, even though I wasn't like cooking or anything, because there just wasn't like time for that. But it was just nice to have all that. Like I said, feel like, oh, I'm in my own little apartment here. But that night they did an opening ceremony kind of deal, a camo ball. It was put on by Onyx. That's like a big, a lot of people use it for like hunting and stuff, GPS sort of app. And
Sick.
Everyone was supposed to dress in camo. And so there were some people there like really, really decked out in full suits. I just had like a sweatshirt and hat on, but so thank you. I walked over to the ball. They fed us dinner, which was great. Had a couple beers. And then they had some local folks teach line dancing. But I was, again, feeling real lame. And I did not get up and do the line dancing. But
that's okay.
I know. I was just like, at that moment, I sat at a table, and then a group of like girls came and sat too. And I was like, oh man, like, I wish I had a buddy, because I started to get worried of like, am I gonna, put myself out there for this event and actually
Yes.
talk to the people I need to talk to. But again, it was night one after 2 days of all day driving and whatnot. So I got out of there early and just went back to my place so I could get some sleep and get up early and whatnot. So the next day was Tuesday, and it was the day that the full summit started, that there was all the panels and things. So they're each about 45 minutes long, and each panel had 3 people, 3 speakers, and they'd talk for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then there was a Q&A afterwards. So I like that format because it keeps you engaged, since the speakers aren't like, it's not one person kind of droning on for 1 hour. And
Yes.
it can be hard to be sitting in conference style room and just being talked at all day long. And each one of them talks about something a little bit differently, or a little bit different. It's not the same exact subject where they're just kind of taken off where this one picked up. It's their own personal kind of story and journeys and whatever. So keeps you more engaged for sure. But there are times that I'm like, gosh, I would love to hear more from this person. 10 minutes from them is not enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure as the speaker, they might be like, that's good, especially a lot of these folks they may have podcasts or be writers or editors or whatever, but I still feel like there's a lot of podcasters out there that aren't super into public speaking because we do it this way, right? We're virtual. You can talk to your guest and one-on-one, and even if you're in person, but that's way different than talking to an audience that you can see and like live, like no editing kind of thing. So I feel like it's kind of funny. You think like, oh, you're a podcaster, you should be able to just talk and not worry about it. It's like, yeah, but again, you're out there in front of people. You had to put like this presentation together. It's a whole different vibe and feel. But yeah, there's several people I'm like, God, I would definitely listen to you talk for like 30 minutes. Like, please talk more. But took some notes for sure, got some actionable kind of steps and insights. Really more, I feel like it was kind of things were inspiring in a way, not that I was like, oh, I have all these tools now and I'm going to do this and that. Whereas the first time I went, I feel like I got a lot more out of those panels and I learned a lot more. But I was there for a different reason then. And this time, what I feel like is, there I am. Okay. So I feel like this time I got a lot more value out of just being there in person and talking to people in person and the network connections and all of that, which again is the major reason that I wanted to go. That's where I knew the benefit would lie. So I met Meg Carney, who was from the Outdoor Minimalist podcast and Forever Chemicals. So she's been on our podcast, and she lives in Wenatchee, Washington. So I met her on the first day, actually, at Speed Date, and then she did a couple talks. So I heard her speak at a couple of them. And at the end of Tuesday, they do this big scavenger hunt. So they split everybody randomly into groups. Like on your badge, you had a number, and at 3:00, we like all go meet outside and you split into your groups based on that number. And she happened to be in my scavenger hunt group too. But this scavenger hunt, it's just a cool way to actually mingle with people because you are moving so much throughout the conference. Because every 45 minutes, you're switching into a new room or a new topic of conversation. So, and you're not talking to the people sitting next to you during those panels. So there's not a whole lot of time to connect with people at breakfast and lunch. You get to sit anywhere you want, and there was like some keynote speakers and stuff, so you can kind of chat with the people at your table. But again, there's speakers, so you're not really getting to get into too deep of conversation with the people that are around you. So the scavenger hunt allows for that. And that's where I met Emily Holland 2 years ago too. She was in my group for the scavenger hunt. So I was so excited for the scavenger hunt. Like, oh, who's going to be in my group? Like, I cannot wait to spend some actual time with some really cool people. But I felt this way last time too. The scavenger hunt is way too fucking long. It's like 3.5 hours.
Woo.
Yeah. So mind you, Monday, most people are traveling, and then you're like kind of in it, doing things, going to that opening ball. And then Tuesday, you start at 8 a.m., do all these panels and everything. And at 3 p.m. you start the scavenger hunt. The concept is super cool. It was spread out. Like, I mean, we walked a half mile or so to our first station, and then yeah, overall you're like walking around this river. I forgot what river it was. We were in Missoula, but there's different stations, and these brands will have little games or challenges or something set up for you. Like the first one was a kayak station, so I got to go kayak in the river, which was really cool because I haven't been in a kayak in a really long time. And this was like a sea kayak. They had a couple different options, but we used this brand up in Alaska when I was doing tours. So I was all like nostalgic, like, oh my God, just like sitting in this touring kayak. And even though I was just kind of paddling up and down a little bit, it was like 5-10 minutes. It's like, this is so great. And then, yeah, I was so happy we started there because by 6:30, 3.5 hours later, you're like, you're just done. You're just fried. So the first few stations are good and fun and exciting. And then you kind of get like, okay, what are you guys going to tell us about? And what's our little challenge and whatnot? So I think if they could shorten that by an hour, that would be fantastic. And I don't know how. You also start to lose people. People get stuck at stations too long, or groups do, and it gets to be kind of like a shit show where I feel like between the speed dating they had and the scavenger hunt, they could find a nice mix of how to keep people for the right amount of time and then send them on their way. Like have a time limit at the scavenger hunt so people can move quickly through things, not get stuck too long, thus like finish it a little bit earlier because it's fucking exhausting but super cool. And that night they rented out a little bar right down the street of like halfway from my place to the hotel. So that was a nice another little walk there, and it was a 3-level place, and the bottom was a full arcade. So that was fun. I met up with my scavenger hunt group, and they fed us there, had a couple beers again, and then played some arcade games. So I'm not much of a game person. Tug is chasing his tail right now. But yeah, I've said it before, I'm just not a big game type person. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get too into the arcade situation. And I wish they had skee ball. Meg said that too, Meg Carney, because I was hanging out with her there. That's like her game. And I'm like, yeah, I need something more interactive. We played some we played some Pac-Man. They had the old school, like 4-person
table.
Pac-Man. Yeah. Played that. And there was this other interesting kind of fun game, but there's people standing in front of the game, and then I didn't have tokens, and I just like whatever, and just hung out, chilled, went home early, and bam. And then Wednesday was a short day. It was cool though because in the morning they started out at this gear store. They had breakfast burritos for everybody there, and it was like again, I think it was a 3-level like store where it reminded me of the way that REI is set up in Tacoma. But not as big. Actually, I don't know. It could be as big, really. But yeah, 3 levels, and just so cool because it's a specialty store. So I like the product. They have a lot more than like they would have it at REI. But I was just like, it always blows my mind seeing specialty outdoor retail stores that are like that big, because when I think of like the stores here in town or littler stores, and I love the stores here and how they're curated and how they look, and like just so much thought goes into the merchandising, and to think that people are doing it too on like such a larger scale, it's so hard to believe, like, oh my God, you can order like 5 of those, like that's crazy. Because it's like we could only order like 1 or 2 of those. So it was really cool, and just I geek out in those stores about how they look and how they're merchandised, and I'm like, oh my God, this display looks so good. I posted some dovetail videos because I'm like, oh, look at this dovetail like display, it's so awesome. They have so much dovetail, it's really cool to see in the wild. And yeah, I met another gal up there that Katie introduced me to, Katie Hawkins. So it was cool to be able
Awesome.
to find this gal, Hannah, who works for, is it Outdoor Alliance, or she doesn't work directly with Katie. But yeah, we
Parallel.
happened to like run into each other, and I saw her name tag. I'm like, oh, Hannah. And so we chatted for a bit, and that was awesome and fun. And then the panels started at like 10 a.m. that day. So there's only a couple, and then lunch, and then the conference was over by 1:30.
Wow.
So it was a whirlwind. I mean, like Tuesday was the big day, and then just a few hours on Monday night and Wednesday afternoon. So yeah, I walked around town a little bit, but not too much. And then Wednesday I got out of there kind of like pretty early, like right after the conference. Went back to my little Airbnb, and I had some work to do, and I packed everything up, did some laundry and stuff because I knew I
Nice.
was going to get out of there early Thursday. But Mallory from Ewer had invited me over to the factory that night for a little happy hour,
Yes.
and that her factory was about a mile away from where I was too, just the opposite way from the hotel. So I walked over there again. Like I said, it made me actually like get out and be in the fresh air, get some steps in. I had all these hopes and dreams of like, maybe I'll find a gym and work out. And that's the biggest reason I wanted to stay in the hotel, honestly, was like so I could get up and go to the gym before the panels. But except walking around town was way better than
Yeah.
than that. So I walked to her place. Heather Kelly of Heather's Choice was there. Meg was there again. And I met a few more folks. So that was awesome, and hung out there for a few hours. Just seeing the factory in real life again was like,
Dreams
go.
do come true.
Yeah, exactly. It was getting back to that woo woo in her story of like really feeling that fucking energy of like, you made
Yes.
this happen. You made it happen, and it didn't just
With
fall in your
detailed
lap. Yeah.
manifestations
Like they put so much
and
fucking
dreams.
work. Yeah. They put so much work into that place with the murals, and I posted a couple pictures yesterday, but I have more from the factory and stuff, and it's just like so you just feel it in there of like, wow, this is dreams, like this is dreams come true situations. So that was, I think, the highlight of it for me, really, and that was again something I was looking forward to like the whole time. Well, not, because she had reached out to me a few weeks ago and let me know that she was planning on doing this happy hour. So that was really great. And then I walked back and took myself out to a nice like Thai dinner that night, and
Yummy.
woke up early Thursday, hit the road. That gal Hannah I met told me about some hot springs in Idaho, so I looked at my route and I went a different way. Then I came up, which was a lot. The road was a lot more squiggly, so I was like, okay, I just know it's gonna be, not as easy to just sit there and kind of put it on cruise control and go. And I gotta, sometimes those long ass drives of just curvy mountain road get fucking annoying. You're just, especially when you're alone, it's just like, God, I'm really tired of driving now, because you just like can't not pay attention. But I looked up this hot spring and I was like, God, what the fuck? Of course, I need to go. So I left Missoula at like 5:45 in the morning, and this was only about an hour and a half away. And it's like, okay, cool, I'll be there by like 7:30. Not realizing that I go back into Pacific time, so it was actually
Wild.
like 6:30, and then because in Missoula it was getting light at like 7:30, and I don't know how far south. I'm sure the light didn't change too much or anything, but I pull up and I was like all out of sorts because I'm like, oh my God, like I don't have service. It's dark still. Like I almost thought about just driving away. Like I fucked up my timing. What am I gonna do? I don't want to just sit in my truck and wait for it to get light. I don't know when it's gonna get light out, and I'm just wasting time sitting here. But I was like, no, it's gonna get light soon. It'll be okay. But I just was worried, like, okay, I'm alone. I don't know this trail. I'm not sure how long it will actually take me to get there. If it's super fucking obvious, if it's gonna be hard to find. So I don't want to just get out and start hiking in the dark and not
Yeah.
find the fucking hot spring, get lost or whatever. But there's a couple cars there when I pulled up, and I put my headlamp on, kind of get out, like look around, see if there's like a map or whatever, and then get back in the truck. I'm like, all right, let me just wait till it gets a little bit lighter out so I don't need like my headlamp. And finally it's that kind of dusky situation. Like I can definitely see, it's not light, but like I can see without a headlamp. Like I'm gonna fucking go for it. It seems just fine. And get out, start walking. There's a couple tents like right off of the trailhead. So I'm like, all right, that's probably those cars. Maybe they're at the hot spring already. But I'm just chugging along, and all of a sudden, like I look up, and there's the hot spring. And I was
Whoa.
like, what? Like literally just looking at my feet, look up, and I was like jaw drop, like, oh my God, it's right fucking there, like end of the trail. And like it's this built up stone pool just dripping over the edge, like down into a creek, and no one's there. And I was just like, this is all worth it. You know, the moments of like, thank God I fucking did this. And it was like 10 minutes on this easy ass trail. So I was like, okay, it would just, obviously if I would have left, I would never know how easy it was or anything. But in those moments, you're just thinking like, thank fucking God I didn't bail out on this, because this was incredible. And it was so easy. But here I had all of the worst thoughts in my mind of, I'm gonna get lost. I'm alone. I don't have service. No one knows where the fuck I am. Like, just all the only bad what ifs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I hurry up, like get out of my clothes, hop on in, and it was like perfect temperature. It wasn't too hot. And if you're in it for a while, you know, I'd like have to get my hands out at least, but definitely wasn't like boiling or anything. And then hung out in there a bit, and I started to get out because it said there was some lower pools. So I'm like looking, and I see it from the top, and I'm like, well, I kind of want to check it out, you know, while I'm here. I gotta give it a go. So I'm out trying to get my dry off a little bit, get my backpack and shoes on, and a girl had walked up behind me with her dog and like scared the shit out of me for a second. But I was like, oh yeah, she hadn't been there either, so she's asking about it. I'm like, oh, it's great temperature. I'm gonna go check out the lower pools. But the lower pool was really small, like one person, maybe two person size, but kind of murky water, and definitely more like old bath water temperature. Like that. I'm like, it's like 7 a.m. still, and it was a misty day. Like, I don't think I'm going to get in there. And like, it's pretty murky. I'm like, I have to get back in the car and drive for a long fucking time. I don't really want to get in this one. So I hiked back up, and I at least need to get back in this other pool for one last dip. And then I ended up talking to that chick for like an hour.
Nice.
Yeah. We were just like, you know, I told her what I was doing. She was from Missoula too. Like she lives there, but had never been. Like, so this was only an hour and a half away in Idaho. And yeah, we just started going off about, we were about the same age, just mid-30s women, and she's gone through a transition, like out of a relationship recently, and both discussing how we felt like we've kind of lost pieces of ourselves over the years and haven't been doing these things, like getting out and exploring on our own, but like used to do it all the time. So it's like, what's stopping us now? Like, why does this happen? And yeah, just both explaining how we want to start just doing these things that we used to do more often. Yeah. So that was awesome and great and serendipitous in the way we could have this conversation
100.
And feel like, obviously I know there's people out there who feel the same and whatnot, but in this moment that I was doing this thing and ran into a woman doing this same exact thing, like with her dog, and I mean, I didn't have my dog, but I was just like, oh, my dogs. And, but yeah, it was like, okay, yeah, we're out here. Like, we're just out here, and gives you that little bit of, okay, I'm not alone. Yeah. What we all lose ourselves a little bit because, and
so
I
would easy even, to do.
So easy. 'Cause it's like, not necessarily like you lost yourself, but parts of yourself. But it's also because what we mentioned earlier too is like you get caught up in things because you're trying to get to this next step or next place.
Yeah.
So
in your hustle era,
yeah, you other things are sacrificed. But what I mentioned too in another post was like, okay, I feel like I've been trying to sacrifice this part of my life for a long time. It's like not going and doing this. But it's not like I have a bunch of money in savings because of it. I'm still in this cycle. And again, you know, other habits that can probably help that, learning to budget better and all that kind of bullshit. But point being is like, I've put off doing shit like this because I was trying to get somewhere, but really I'm kind of in the same spot. So why not actually get some enjoyment out of things? But yeah, it was good and great and super fucking cool. In the last bit of the story, I'm like 45 minutes or an hour or so from the hot spring. There's a lot of road construction going on. And so at this time, now it's like 9 o'clock, fair amount of people on the road. I was surprised because like I'm just in a place that I have no service. And I feel like when you are driving along a place that has no service, you feel like it's not very like populated or something. You're not going to see a lot of people, but so we're in this road where because there's a lot of one lane roads, so you'd be stopped and then your turn gets to go. So I'm with a flow of fucking traffic. I don't know what the speed limit is at one point, but again, I'm not like tailgating the person in front of me, and I can always keep this truck behind me in my view, so I know I'm not just like blowing them out of the water. And I finally see a speed limit sign that says 50. I'm like, okay, cool. But all the corners are like 40. So I know I'm not just fucking charging. And I looked down, I saw 59 and it immediately dropped to 58 and come around this corner and there's a like state trooper in the pullout. And I was like, I fucking know this son of a bitch is going to pull me over. Sure as shit, his lights come on and I'm like, yep, of course, you know, I just go into my typical kind of luck thoughts that this is going to happen to me. You know, I raised fucking money to come here and to do this. And now I'm going to get like a $400 fucking ticket. So great. And anyways, pull over. The guy's, you know, on my passenger window, asking for license, registration, all this, that, the other. He's like, you know, do you know how fast you're going? I was like, I do, actually. 58 miles per hour. I just looked because I, for a while, wasn't sure what the speed limit was. And then I happened to see the 50 sign, and I know I kept my eye on the speedometer as the corners were all like 40. And he was like, yeah, well, I clocked you at 64. I was like, nope, no way. I swear to everything that my speedometer said 58. Anyways, hand him the stuff. Meanwhile, like he's checking things out, another guy walks on the driver's side and he's got like a canine with him, and I don't think anything of it, like, or I even wonder where this guy came from because like I didn't look in the mirrors, I didn't see other cars behind me at all because I was just focused on this guy, and he had pulled out right behind me. So yeah. Anyways, the guy comes back to my stuff, whatever, and he's like, blah, 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 this is officer so-and-so, and so, like, he's gonna have a, like, talk to you, whatever, and they're like, yeah, hey, ma'am, I'm so-and-so, with the K9 unit, blah, 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 like, I'm gonna ask you to step out of the vehicle and come around back to our cars to talk, whatever. I'm like, okay, like, whatever, no problem. So I get out, and he's like, you're not under arrest or anything, like, we just want to ask you some questions, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, so yeah, I just stand right here in front of the car. So I'm going to read you your rights, and you're not under arrest. But yeah, I'm going to read you your rights. And I'm like,
for what? Why?
Okay.
So that you can search my vehicle?
Yes. So
dude, I am on the edge of my seat right now.
They read me my rights again after he finishes, like, is you're not under arrest. And I'm like, really trying to not freak out inside because I have no idea what the fuck or why. And again, because there's a dog, I can only guess they want to like search. But I'm like, I've never been like just asked to get out and read my rights or anything.
Fuck.
And I could have easily went into like freak out mode and like start crying instantly because I don't have fucking service. So I'm like, how am I supposed to call my dad?
Yeah, for real. Or like your insurance company
Yeah.
or.
No, first of all, it was only my dad. Like, how do I call my dad? Like I need my
Yep.
dad. But I'm like, okay, whatever, not freaking out. And then so he was like, yeah, blah blah blah. I've got a drug sniffing dog. They can sniff this, that, and the other, blah blah blah. And he alerted me to something in your vehicle, like on the passenger side, whatever. And I'm like, so, but yeah, basically asking to search the truck. And I'm like, well, obviously, I'm not thinking of any hard drugs whatsoever. I'm only thinking of weed, and I got a California plate. We're in Idaho. Instantly, I'm like, I was definitely profiled here, pulled over because I have California plates. Because, like I said, there's no fucking way I was going that fast when the vehicles were in front and behind me the entire time. If anything, I'm like with the flow of traffic. If I was going that fast, they were not much further like behind me in speed. So I'm like, yeah, okay, they definitely think they're going to get something here. And I'm like, the irony is like, I am one of like the only people I know who doesn't fucking smoke weed, like at all.
Ever.
Like, and I'm like, the only thing I can think of is there was some stuff in my passenger door months and months ago, but
from me.
Yeah, I was like, I drove to Washington with a friend. I know that she had some stuff, but I was like, but if anything, it's going to be like the butt of a joint. And I'm pretty sure like that is like all cleaned out. Because
like, I take care of my shit. I clean up after
Well, and it's been months. It's like I would have smelt that. And I know that I cleaned up the truck since then, but they were like, so you haven't cleaned your truck since then? And I was like, well, I mean, I live in the dirt. This thing is filthy. Like, I don't know is what I'm saying. It's like, I don't detail it like that. And when I said like the butt of a joint, they're like, so like a blunt? I was like, no, like a joint, like a tiny little, like, and it would have been like filter or something, I just like little bits of paper, but I'm just like racking my brain. Like I have, especially because they said the passenger side, that's all I'm thinking is something's in that door. And I was like, I probably should have said nothing, but like, I've got nothing to worry about in my mind. So I'm just like, also want to cover my bases of not feeling like I've looked like I lied. If they're like, oh, you said you had nothing, but this is what's here. So anyways, I let them search it. My dad was like, what, you let them search? I'm like, yeah, because I ain't got nothing to worry about or hide. And they've got probable cause. Well, they've got me apparently clocked on 2 fucking whatever speed tracker things, and a dog that smelt something, that I'm not about to go to some random ass jail in Idaho and figure out how to get bailed out, how to get my truck, and still have to fucking drive home and like get to, I'm only a couple hours out of Montana. So this is going to really put a wrench in everything. Like, is someone going to have to bail me out? How does this fucking work in a different state? So I'm like, yeah, fucking go for it, guys. So there's a third cop there, and he's asked to watch me. Because they were like, do you want to? They're like, do you want to sit in the back of one of the cars because it's kind of cold out, whatever? And I'm like, no, I'm good. They had asked where I was, like I'm telling them at the hot spring. When he asks what hot spring at first, I definitely fumbled because I'm like flustered. I barely knew anyways, and I was like, Glacier, wait, what? Fucking like, where am I? Like Weir Creek. And so they asked me before they searched too, like, oh, how was the hike to the hot spring? And I was like, piece of cake. I was like, I mean, the top of my road to the bottom of my road is longer and more elevation, like where I live.
What the fuck?
And when I told my dad about it, he was like, oh, they were just trying to make sure you were where you said you were by asking you these questions. Like, oh, because the guy was like, well, in the winter, it's like a pretty rough trail. Like people fall off the edge. And I was like, yeah, no. There was no edge. It's fine. I was like, whatever. So, I told him where I was coming from Missoula. I was at this like summit for work. They're asking like what I do for work. And so anyways, two guys are searching because there's so much shit in my truck.
Yeah.
And the other guy is just standing there, like literally staring at me. And I'm just like looking around, like at the river, the rocks, and just like, okay. And they're kind of talking to me as they go through, because the guys start, I have like 2 backpacks in the front, and he's like, well, is any of this stuff like your friends? And I was like, no, that was in July. I did not leave her backpack in there. Like, I was like, I just said it would be like trash from fucking in the door handle, or in the door panel, whatever. I'm like, nope, all my stuff. So in the back seat, I've got like a fucking big ass tote bag with like, I swear, 7 or 8 pairs of shoes, a duffel bag with a bag in that has socks and underwear, a cooler, like, shit everywhere. And the guy was like, so were you like camping back here? I'm like, no, I just overpack. Like, I'm like, I've been gone for like a week. I didn't know what I was gonna do. You know, I'm in Montana. I had a couple hats, like 7 fucking coats, you know?
Oh, God.
So they're literally, and then, you know, a case of the GoPro, and just like cases, bags and bags, like those fucking Russian eggs or something, you know?
Yeah.
I like, have at it, boys. This is gonna take you a minute. Like, fuck.
Wow, fuck Idaho police. I'll say that much.
Yeah, so...
Also, sorry for being your stoner friend who got you in trouble.
So I don't think you did, because there's no fucking way. Like I said, I think that maybe there's a chance, but I also think it was all fake. And like I said, there also, I remembered too, is like, well, fuck, I took Andrew's truck, because they kept saying how they were, like, well, it's legal in California, you know, so some people just don't realize, and they're driving through, or, you know, maybe they'll pick up, like, it's legal in Montana too, so maybe they'll pick something up for their friends and it go back. And I was like, just thinking that anyone I know, I'm not the mule. I'm not the mule. My friends have no problem getting what they need. And
you're like, I do not do the devil's lettuce. I do not do the devil's work. I do not do the lettuce. Like, fuck off my shit.
They're going off about, like, well, even if you're around somebody who, like, smokes, you know, the smell can, like, linger on you, and the dogs are just very sensitive to things. And I'm like, I have been at a fucking outdoor media summit, and I've been staying alone. And I do not think the smoke from a joint would be on my sweatshirt from months ago, anytime that I'm with Andrew too. And so I remember I took Andrew's truck down to get an oil change a couple weeks ago. He took my truck. I'm like, did he, like, maybe he smoked in my truck? But I'm just like, there's still no fucking way the smoke from a joint or a vape pen, like, lingers for that long that a dog is going to detect it and make you want to search my entire vehicle.
No.
And I know that they thought for sure they were going to find something, because I'm from California, and I either was packing stuff somewhere or packing it back. And I also was only thinking, like, wow, thank God I'm a white woman right now, because Jesus Christ. So
you would have been hauled off already. Had you been other stereotypical profiling. God, fuck Idaho, man.
So they're, again,
with
like,
all due respect,
chatting with me and stuff, like, oh, you know, like, what's your podcast about? It's like, oh, there's like women in their mid-30s, and the daily bullshit that we go through and stuff. And
like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk about this.
Yes.
Whole fucking shabazzle with you shitheads.
So at the end, the one guy opens the tailgate, you know, and I got a bin back there. And I also have a bag with my wet clothes in it. And then I have a toolbox that's in there. I don't know, maybe he popped the lid of the bin, but he definitely didn't pull it out and go through it. And there's a bunch of shit in there. And the toolbox thing, didn't open that up, but opened the bag with my wet clothes in it and, like, dumped those out. And so by that point, I'm like, you know, you're not finding anything if you didn't even go through this bin that has more shit in it and this toolbox that has more shit in it. So yeah, the guy was like, well, you'll have something to talk about to add to the list of what women in their 30s go through. And I'm like, ha ha ha. But like, you know, since we didn't find anything, like, we're gonna let you go, not give you a ticket, but you were like, going 14 miles an hour over, like that's excessive, blah, blah, blah. And I was like I said, I swear my speedometer said 58, but there are times when I'm plugged into Google Maps that the speedometer on that says I'm going like a few miles over, and like more than what my speedometer says. But I'm like, but I always trust my speedometer over like a third party app that I don't even know how it tracks my speed. And they're like, oh, well, no, Google's usually more accurate. And I was like, huh. And then the third guy who was watching me, he's like, well, and with bigger tires, you cover more ground quickly. So your speedometer, like you could be going faster than what your speedometer reads. And I was like, huh. And all of them were like, yeah, that's true. And they're like, did your boyfriend put these tires on your truck? I was like, no, I bought it that way. And they're like, well, look inside your door panel, like your driver's door, and it should say something about the speedometer and tire size or something like that, like what it's calibrated to. So they seem to think like, okay, this is the reason why, like, you say you were going 58, but we clocked you at this. Like, you've got bigger aftermarket tires on this truck. So, like, we've come to the conclusion that I'm not lying, but I also think that I seriously fucking doubt that they ever clocked me at 64. And it was just profiled of being California. And so in the end, nothing, no ticket on any part.
How long did all that take?
I don't even know. Maybe 45 minutes.
You should have been like, I'm clocking you guys. You're on the clock. You're wasting my fucking time.
Yeah. So I drive. I was going to stop halfway, about 6 hours again. But then when I get to that point, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not stopping in some bumfuck, no offense, town and hanging out for 7 hours. I was like, I got work to do. I could just do that. But I was like, I'm going to keep driving. And I ended up getting to Winnemucca in Nevada, which is only 3 hours from Truckee. I got there at like 7. So I drove for like 11 hours. I was like, oh, I can finish this off. But I was like, no, it's dark now. And I don't need to push it on this last stretch and fall off the highway. So that's when I called my dad and told him and stuff. And he was so funny. He was like, those redneck motherfuckers. Which is really funny because if you know my dad, like, he's been known to come off as a redneck.
Yeah.
He's just a Democratic redneck. And so I think he was inferring other political views from them. And he was like, same exact thing right away. He's like, they profiled your ass. He's like, I hope you didn't get out. I'm like, no, let's listen to the story. He was like, did you get their names? It's like, I started to like pay attention to the one guy's name, and then I just like was too caught up and didn't. He's like, well, get online because they're supposed to legally file incident like reports to anyone who sorry, I saw something. I just saw a chat from a long time ago that you sent. But anyways, so I was trying to pay attention to their names, but couldn't. And he was like, legally, they're supposed to make an incident report for like anything like that. If they pulled someone over and did a search, like, it needs to be written about and reported. So get online and look that shit up and get their names and blast them on your podcast. Like, poor little white girl. I'm like, no way. I would no. I'm a fucking privileged ass white girl is the problem, Dad. Not the problem, but I was like, I told him how the whole time I was just thinking, thank God I am. And he was like, yeah, good point.
Thank God you're not a stoner, bro.
Yeah. But he was just like, yeah, either way, like, regardless of that, I just blast them for being fucking dicks, because he was like, that was all a lie and a setup. There's no way. Why were 3 cars, like 3 right there in the middle of fucking nowhere, 3 of them just posted up waiting with a canine unit? Like, where'd this guy come from? So they were out to get someone that day. Maybe they were already on the lookout for somebody or something, because thinking about it all, I was like, yeah, out of the blue, 3 cops instantly, like, state trooper, canine unit. I was like, this is fucked, man. But again, luckily I am a woman of God and I do not smoke. No. I am no such religious belief, but I don't happen to have any drugs on me, legal in California or not. So it was all
I hate it.
good. I know. I was fine at first. I like wasn't mad because I'm just like, thank God. And then thinking about it more, I was like, yeah, fucking assholes, dude. Like,
Yeah,
what the
just
hell?
wasting people's times. And like, after hearing what Sam was saying about the women's clinics getting taken away in Idaho, it just really puts into perspective what kind of bubbles we live in and
Yeah,
what's going on in the country in other places that aren't as protected as our bubbles are.
there's signs everywhere in Idaho too, like don't Californicate Idaho laws. So it's like there's a lot of people there who just hate Californians because they think that they're trying to move and like change everything. And again, to the beliefs of a different political view that they don't believe in. And you're it was
Especially
just
when
so
that
dumb.
shit's getting thrown down the community's throats. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I'm sure the same could be opposing side could be saying the same for where we are. Like, all this stuff is getting thrown down our throats, but it's logical. It's real. And I'm sure that people are thinking that, like, not Californicating Idaho is real and logical, but come the fuck on,
I know.
bro.
And I mean, for a slight second, I was worried, I thought about like going to Montana, right, with California plates, just because I know that a, a lot of folks from California have moved to Montana, and there's a lot of animosity there with in
Yep.
more of the ways that I feel of like taking over and trying to build and bringing this California vibe to Montana and like making things more city like and just all that kind of bullshit. I wasn't even thinking like politics wise. I was like, fuck, I don't know what areas of Montana I drive through or anything or what any small towns are, but trust me, I've been to some small fucking towns that do weird shit when they know you're not from there. So I was like, fuck, I hope I don't stop anywhere where someone's going to want to bust my windows out for being from California, because that's the world that we live in right now. People are doing crazy shit because of simple things like that. Simply seeing that you could be from California, they think that you are this person and that person, you're coming in to do this or that. I was like, my only saving grace, and this is going to be a stereotype, is that the back of my truck where it says Ranger is painted like an American flag, which again, I bought the truck that way and it's something I've wanted to change, but I'm like, that might be the thing that people see that will think like, oh, California, but patriot, you know, like this person might swing like on the side we want them to. And which again is a weird, unfortunate thing that if you fly a flag or have show any sort of patriotism, that you're looked at to be on the right side of politics and have these certain views. And it's just like so fucked up the way things are right now with the country and the views of everything. But like I said, that's going to be the stereotype, that someone sees that and they think that instantly you're like, this is how you look or sway politically. But then I didn't even think about fucking Idaho. I was like, I don't even know where the fuck I am, guys. Like, I don't know what city this is. I don't know what river this fucking is. Like, this is not cool. But yeah, so that was the more exciting thing, not exciting, but like wow thing of the
story
trip, I guess. Yeah.
Story.
If you all made it that long, hopefully, sorry, I gave you like I feel like I gave you a minute by minute play by play on the OMS, but I just wanted to give you all the details of it. But if you guys are still out there hanging on, I know we should probably let you go by now because we've been over an hour. And again, thanks to everybody out there who got me to OMS. Thank goodness I did not get thrown into Idaho jail and have to spend a couple extra days or hundreds of dollars getting home for absolutely fucking nothing. Because, like I said, if I wouldn't have let them, what a bummer to have to go through all of that. It's not like they're going to pay my way home
getting
or
your
anything.
Car out of impound.
Yeah. Exactly. So, like, fuck that. Glad it went the way it did, but yeah, I told the guy straight up, I was like, yeah, the irony of this is I am like the only person I know who doesn't use drugs.
Yeah. Straight up.
But like, whatever, have at it, like I said. But before we get out of here, Amber, is there anything you want to leave or chat about? Leave the audience with, that is.
Just about how a week from now we will have a different president.
Ugh.
And that's wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know. I gotta do my vote.
Yeah, same.
Do that
so
today.
Just a little reminder to make sure you vote out there, people.
Do it. VOTE. Vote. Vote.
Yeah. And to everyone who thinks it doesn't matter, it matters. You matter. Your opinion matters.
If you haven't yet listened to the episode we did a couple weeks ago with Katie Hawkins, because I think that that's a good reminder that, yes, a presidential election is huge, and that's the thing on the forefront of our mind. But let's remember that there are a lot of other things, too, that maybe can motivate you, I feel like, to vote. If you feel like, oh, this doesn't matter, remember about all those little things that you can that make the difference in. And if that's a little bit of motivation you need to fill out the rest of your ballot, then great.
Especially for local happenings in your community, it matters. It all fucking matters. You matter. It matters. Vote. Unfortunately for Pierce County, the last day to register to vote was on Monday. And I don't know what happens if you miss that deadline. I don't know if you have to go in person somewhere or what, but just do your due diligence, because by not voting, you are putting all the power in somebody else's hands. And also in that case, I personally feel like if you don't do your due diligence, then I don't think it's right to have an opinion if you don't try.
Yeah, absolutely. I got this dog trying to squeeze in here, really, really messing up my setup here. He wants to go outside. Well, yeah, vote, listen to some episodes, and just do your fucking part, do your thing, and no matter how much you think it affects things or not, just know it does. Just think it does.
Really,
just think with all your heart that it does, so that it gets you out there. He's hitting the tug is like hitting the microphone with his head.
Also, positive placebo goes a long way, and that could be applied to getting pulled over by some cocksuckers in Idaho, or to this election, or to your manifestations in your personal life. Positive placebo goes a fucking long way, baby. The biggest boy. His head is gigantic.
Yeah, he's being a ruckus right now. He's really fucking my shit up.
He's like, Mama, let me out.
Yeah, he's
miss
like,
him.
Pay attention to me. Either let me out or get me in your fucking lap. But he just farted too, so we better go outside. Okay, everybody out there, again, thanks so much for sticking with us in this long TNA update. We've got some guests coming up in the next week and month, and we'll keep you guys posted on updates. We got some more biking stuff coming up. We'll round out the biking season probably in November, and then get to some winter content and your usual TNAs. So,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Remember how last year you did the
CrossFit?
Yeah.
I don't know. I put that out there into the world, and I didn't get any feedback back. But last night I did this event. Like, I didn't do the workout part of it. I just set it up in other ways. And it was doing a ski workout. And it's like, man, I missed this. And this was like so fun last year. But at this point, I'm like, I already had launched it, or at least launched the sign up. So I feel like it's too late.
Never too
now,
late. Winter hasn't even started.
It's very true. Very, very true. We have the whole month of November, which is what I wanted to do. Or I mean, like, it doesn't have to be November. It can be kind of a rolling basis, start when you want. But if you are interested out there, I still have the program. I can make some tweaks too. And I would be happy to set it up again if people are interested. It won't be for free this year is the thing. It'll be free for you. It'll be free for you.
Oh, baby.
You're on the
girl.
unlimited plan. But yeah, that's the only thing, and probably why I haven't talked about it much, is like I don't have the capacity really to do that for that. I gotta do some charging of my worth, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes, baby. Yes, we do.
But I love you all out there. But again, it's little things that go back into being able to do the things that I want to do, like produce this and do other things. Like I gotta fucking charge. I just do. I gotta learn that. But wow, this light, now that I open the blinds, is making my eyes look crazy. But,
yeah. Also, your hair looks amazing as well.
I've been thinking the same thing to you. It's like, this is such a good hair day. It's just like shiny. I got it toned up recently, so it's still.
Yeah, I was gonna say the color is popping, girl.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for real this time, guys out there. Goodbye. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week or whenever the fucking next time you put us in your ears is. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tearingituppodcast.com, leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tearing It Up Podcast is the handle. Like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.